Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone's doing well. It's had a relatively safe and healthy beginning of the calendar year so far. I know I haven't posted on either of my channels in a good minute, so I'll probably put this on both of my channels. Just a brief update video as far as what's going on with me in my life and what happened in 2020 and to me personally. So if you're just interested in what's going on with me, please stay tuned. So as we all know, 2020 was a crazy year, and I'm sure everyone who's watching this has been impacted in one way or another as far as things that have happened between the pandemic, just things, as far as how it's affected people's way of living, their jobs, and even their health and their lives. Everyone has been touched by this in one way or another. So my heart goes out to anybody that's been impacted in one way or another. I hope you guys are continuing to try your best to stay sane, and that things go better for you this year. So for me personally, I would say there were three areas as far as in 2020 that I can say that there were changes or different developments that happened. And a couple of them basically they are part of the reason why I hadn't been filming as much on either of my channels. I might have filmed, here or there occasionally, but I wasn't filming as frequently because of a couple of things that were going on in my life. So I'll talk about those. I'll kind of talk about, the changes that happened with me in three areas. So one of the first things I want to talk about is just some of the milestones that I celebrated in 2020. So the first one, which it seems kind of surface at first, is I celebrated my 6-year lock anniversary. So 6 years ago, in November of 2020, or November of 2014, I actually started my lock journey, and I started growing my hair in locks, or some people call them dreadlocks. It doesn't matter to me; it's interchangeable. But it's a really neat milestone for me because it's basically 6 years of me embracing my natural self, embracing my hair as it's growing out of my scalp. And so I thought it was neat because I was always so self-conscious about the length of my hair, and how long, or comparing how my hair looks to other people. And I'm just now beginning to embrace my uniqueness and my hair, and not just my hair, but just other things that make me who I am as a Black woman. My skin tone, my body, and things like that. So I just thought it was a neat little milestone. I would like to do a couple more things on my natural hair channel, on my locks, and I'll probably pick that back up. But it's been kind of hectic. I've been kind of busy, where I've been too preoccupied with other things to kind of pick that up. But that was one thing that I was proud of, that I celebrated 6 years of me starting my locks and my natural hair journey. The other anniversary that I celebrated was my 7-year wedding anniversary. So in July of 2020, it was 7 years that I was married to my husband. And I really take pride in that, and, was happy about that because, my husband was kind of the catalyst of me waking up to realizing the truth about the Jehovah's Witness religion. He was kind of part of the influence to where, certain events after that helped me to gradually wake up and see what was really going on. So it's a blessing. Marriage is, in this day and age, it's a very uncertain thing, especially with the pandemic and the quarantine happening. So I just consider it very blessed that we 7 years in, that we're still together. We're still raising our family, and we're still blessed to have each other. So I was very happy about that as well. And then in December of 2020, I celebrated the 7-year anniversary of me leaving the Jehovah's Witness religion. So Married my husband. Like 5 months later, I formally left through disassociation. So I wrote a letter saying, that I was leaving the religion. So I take pride in that, So it's in 7 years. It's been amazing how much I've grown from that. And, how at this point it kind of doesn't identify me as much. When I first left, that was, I was identifying myself by leaving, and basically the fallout of leaving, like, losing a lot of family and friends from that. And, it's crazy how, after a few years and being able to move on from that, how I don't identify with that anymore. That no longer defines me. And that's a really difficult thing when it comes to leaving a religion like that. A lot of people still, several years later, they still identify themselves as, being a former Jehovah's Witness. And a lot of things, it almost becomes obsessive to them. So, it's a blessing for me that I'm learning to move on from that. I think being able to make the channel and talk about my experiences was very therapeutic for me to help me move on from that. But I consider it a blessing that 7 years after, I can say that, I'm doing well, that I've woken up, I've been able to form my own opinions, my own beliefs on things. And I think that's a really wonderful thing as well. The second area I'd like to get into is the second thing that happened to me in 2020. I moved again. If you've been following my channels, especially my Ex-Jehovah's Witness channel, actually, when I started my channel, I had just moved out of the South to Ohio. So we were living in Ohio, and then I decided to start my channel. And so there were a lot of job opportunities. My husband had gotten an opportunity to, have a better paying job and things like that when we initially moved up there. And teaching salaries were potentially higher up there as well. So we were really excited about the opportunity. The South gets a reputation of kind of having their own issues with like racism and prejudice and things like that. So in my naive mind, I thought we were going to be moving away from all of that. So that, the higher pay, I was really excited initially about, this move, and it, things, we were excited about, things developing from there. But unfortunately, reality kind of set in. I think between that and the pandemic, things didn't quite turn out the way they are. Ohio, even though it's never associated with the South, it wasn't considered a Confederate state in the Civil War, but they actually do have their own issues when it comes to things that we commonly see in the South. You'd be surprised how many Confederate flags you see flying around in the state of Ohio. So it's crazy. So that was kind of a surprise to me to see, how things were there. The other thing I noticed is that the school system in Ohio is not all that great. So while I was able to, potentially get a better salary, the actual school system itself was kind of behind. The teacher licensure process is another story. So that was a nightmare. So I wasn't even able to teach in the field that I wanted to teach in. And so it was a lot of setbacks that happened. I didn't really talk about them that much in my videos, but that was pretty trying for me and pretty disappointing. And so what happened was I ended up switching from teaching in a traditional public school to charter school. And the problem with teaching charter schools is that they're not necessarily unionized. So basically, they don't have to pay you as much. So, as far as me being excited about getting paid more and everything, all that went out the window, where I ended up getting paid less than I was getting paid at the lowest paying southern state. So that was kind of disappointing. I was almost at the point where I was like, look, it is time for me to change careers altogether. As long as we're living here, I need to look into what I'm going to do instead of this teaching thing, because as it is, I'm not going to be able to sustain this for very long. And so, I was going to get into another opportunity, and then just everything kind of fell through. So, um, after a year, things just started happening where it was kind of giving us a signal that we needed to kind of move back to where we were used to, and also to be closer to family, because a lot of things were about to happen, which I'll talk about a little bit later, where we needed to be closer to family anyway. So, yeah, so after a year, we ended up moving. So we're back in the South. I'm so glad to be back. A lot of times, when you live in a place where you're accustomed to, things kind of feel a lot more comfortable. You're able to deal with a lot more things when you're in a place where you're more familiar. And funny enough, my salary went right back up as soon as I left Ohio. So that's always a good thing. The third update I wanted to get into was getting into my weight loss journey. Now this third update has a huge twist, so please stay with me. But I talked about it a little bit in one of my videos on my Ex-JDub Witness channel, where I always have had internal and external struggles with being comfortable with my weight. So around that time, I'm thinking it was like November of 2019. I really did not like how I looked. I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to make a change. And one of the ways I knew personally that I wanted to make a change was to get back to exercising, get back to eating more healthy, so I could be a little bit happier in the weight that I was. I had gained a few pounds and during one of my other previous moves a couple years ago, and I wasn't quite able to shake the weight off. So I really wanted to make a change. Yeah, and I wanted to do better. So in the following month, in December of 2019, I started exercising, started counting my calories, trying to eat healthier, drink more water, just all the things that really help you to not only stay healthy, but even get back in shape and lose some pounds. And so that first month was really difficult because I wasn't losing a single pound. And so I'm like, what's going on? But I kept at it. So finally, I started losing weight starting January 2020. And so I started losing weight. I ended up between January and probably the middle of March, I lost about 15 pounds. So I was really happy about that. I was ready to go. I was motivated. Things were great. And then around like the third week of March of 2020, I started noticing that I wasn't really, again, my weight loss started slowing down again. And I was doing the exact same thing. I had the exact same routine. I just didn't realize what was going on. And so I'm like, well, this is weird. But then I realized um, that my monthly visitor, and women, you know what I'm talking about, that usually shows up, did not show up. So I ended up having to go to the store and getting a pregnancy test. And I took the test and I found out I was pregnant. Now, at this point, this is around the time that people started quarantining. They started giving out, curfews and stay-at-home orders. So to find out that I was pregnant in the middle of a pandemic and a quarantine was surprising. I was happy about it because I always wanted another child. I have my daughter, and I always wanted my daughter to have a sibling close to her age. But it was just very surprising to find out that I was expecting. So I didn't necessarily have a quarantine child. I was apparently pregnant with my child before quarantine happened. But it was just really surprising, and it was just amazing. And plus, the year 2020, I turned 35, so I found myself 35 years old, or turning 35, pregnant in the middle of a quarantine. So, it was kind of worrying, but we were able to get through it. I was worried about prenatal care. I had to put my obviously I had to put my weight loss journey on hold because I was expecting, and I had to make sure that, I was staying healthy and my unborn child was staying healthy. But it was kind of, a lot of anxiety there because you didn't know what to expect. But it turned out pretty good. And so I ended up having my baby in November. He's almost 2 months old. So it's been a blessing. So that is the biggest reason why I haven't been able to film as much. I did film a couple of videos because if you look at the timeline of when things happen, I did film while I was pregnant, but most of the time when I film, I don't really film from the waist down, so you really can't see much of anything. But yeah, I did film a couple of videos while I was pregnant, but between that and then the eventual move back to the South, I just kind of had to slow things down and put it on hold, put my filming and my YouTube channel, kind of put that in the back burner, to focus on my pregnancy. So that's kind of what happened there, where I just had to. And then on top of that, we were in the midst of a move. I was around 6, 7 months pregnant when we did move back to the South. So a lot was happening. So that's kind of why I wasn't filming, and because we were just focused on a lot of things were going on and focused on things that we had to focus on instead of me, this YouTube channel. So things have been good. I'm still pretty busy, as you can figure, having 2 young children at home, going back to work. I recently went back to work. I'm working from home, but it's still been kind of hectic. But I consider myself blessed to be able to, be well, me and my I'm here with my family, my extended family, still be relatively healthy and just being able to, be okay during this time. And the funny thing about the weight loss journey is that, during my pregnancy, so as I mentioned, I lost 15 pounds. During my pregnancy, I only gained 8 of those pounds back. So that was amazing to me. So I was able to do that. And even though it wasn't a smooth pregnancy, I had a couple of bumps along the road. I got diagnosed with gestational diabetes and, a couple things like that. They kind of look at you funny when you're giving birth over 35. and the labor, that's another story. But, it was crazy because, I only gained 8 pounds, so I wasn't set back too much. And so now, as far as the real update to my weight loss journey, I'm pretty much smaller. I've lost all of my pregnancy weight and then some. So, it's a wonderful thing. I think I've lost a total of like 25 pounds. So that's amazing to me. It fluctuates here or there depending on how things go, but I'm kind of happy about that. I'm going to continue to take things slow, getting back to exercising again. I just got to, at this point, kind of be aware of what I'm eating and stuff like that. That's kind of tough. But I'm getting there. So that's pretty much the updates that are going on in my life. I'll try to be better at filming some things, especially on my natural hair channel. I don't know if some topics come up in the Jehovah's Witness channel that I might be inclined to talk about. I might get back on there and talk about it. We'll see. We'll see how things go. But that's pretty much it. Thank you for tuning in. Please feel free again to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how you're doing. How was your 2020? Let me know down in the comments. I hope everyone continues to have a wonderful day. Much love.